Calling from a 509 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
This is Corn Pop. I'm calling from Delaware, and I've got a libertarian perspective.
Corn Pop from Delaware with a libertarian perspective. Ronald Raygun, how are you, sir?
Well, I had a whole thing, but if you're going to just...
Oh, never mind. Corn Pop from Delaware. Go ahead. You're on the line.
Whatever.
All right. Well,
Whatever. We'll do this as Reagan. It's fine.
I was hoping
but you really did step all over the thing about how public pools are theft. I had a whole thing about racist pomade prohibitions and racist enforcement of public pool policies and whatever. It doesn't matter.
That's pretty good. It's good stuff. But actually, I'm interested in hearing the public charge, your assessment of the public charge thing. Just to let people know, the Supreme Court okayed at a 5-4 decision the other night that the Trump administration public charge rule is valid. Will you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so they lifted the injunction. I mean, there's still lawsuits going on, but what the Supreme Court said is the injunction stopping the implementation of the policy is lifted. So basically, public charge is a rule that's been around for 100 years, telling people that if you're a poor immigrant, basically, and you can't support yourself, we can deport you or not let you into the country, I guess. And so since like 1996, there's been a formal affidavit of support that petitioners. So, for example, when I petitioned for my wife, I had to fill out a contract with the government saying if she's, if she needs any kind of public assistance, I will provide that for her rather than going to the government. And since I was a student at the time, I didn't make any money. My parents had to be co-sponsors. And so my parents submitted 3 years of tax returns and letters from their employers to USCIS to prove that this new immigrant, I mean, she was already here, but she's not going to be a public charge. So this is something that exists and has existed in some form or another for 100 years. But what the Trump administration did is say, without providing any real evidence that this is like a problem, we really need to amp up this whole process, basically. So they published a new form and new rules. It's like a 20-page form, and they ask for all kinds of information now. Information about everyone in the household, for example, credit scores, detailed information about debts, just all of these things that they, up until now, they haven't asked for. And my impression of it is that it could either change everything or it could change nothing, and it probably is going to end up depending on the individual adjudicators who are adjudicating these cases potentially. You could easily see it affecting almost every case with very few exceptions, or, maybe the officers just sort of decide we're going to continue with the same standard as always. But essentially, you still have to file the same stuff as before, plus this new stuff, and a new form that's 20 pages long. And there's like a 7-factor balancing test that these officers are supposed to engage in to sort of make this nebulous determination as to whether or not the person is likely to become a public charge in the future.
So let me ask you this then. So I have two questions. One, it sounds like what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a lot more technicality and bureaucracy to inhibit people to successfully fill out their applications. It also sounds like they're trying to add much more subjectivity, or at least a certain amount of subjectivity to the process, simply by changing the requirements so that there's more latitude for the whatever it is, the prefects or the adjudicators to reject people. so that there's at least sort of that latitude, I guess. What was it? What was the question that made it rise to the Supreme Court? Was it just sort of the nature of their ability to change the requirements or to add additional requirements?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the challenges were based on, to be totally honest, whether it was just they felt that it was too onerous or something like that, or that it wasn't based in, there was no rational basis for the change or the policy, probably something like that. But I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is this has had a couple different effects. Like when it was first announced, like before the rule was even published, we started getting people calling saying, well, I took all my kids off medical coupon because I know that that's going to affect me. And it's not, even under the new rule, for a lot of people. So we had like asylees and people with certain types of visas that are not even subject to the public charge rules in the first place. Getting their kids off food stamps, getting off medical coupon, which is horrible. And that's been something that's been going on now for 2 years, basically. And then, it just creates a sense of confusion. And, there's so many parts of the law that you could either basically ignore if the administration wanted to, or really inject with all kinds of power and discretion. And that's essentially what they're doing. And also, I mean, it's an obvious barrier for poor people. I mean, if you're a wealthy person and you're bringing over your European wife or parents or something, like, this is a little bit annoying, but it's not that big of a deal. But if you're a farm worker or somebody who's even like middle class, this could potentially end up being a de facto bar to getting a green card. So
right.
We'll see. Yeah. I wanted to, can I add something really quick?
Of course.
Yeah. So this is 2 anecdotes for your Blame the Electorate file. Yesterday so a lot of people come in and they don't really have options. And so sometimes I'll try and talk to them about politics and, this is a big year and there's ways to get involved, even if you don't have papers and blah, blah, blah. And yesterday, a potential client, a former client of mine who's undocumented, she said, what about this Michael Bloomberg? This is in Spanish. She's not speaking English. What about this Michael Bloomberg? He seems pretty great. And we kind of laugh at the guy, but that kind of freaked me out, that this person who has no real political literacy, but she knows his name and knows his message. And that's because he's just pumping so much money into the airways, I guess. But, it's important to not assume that people know who we're talking about or what we're talking about.
Well, the advantage he has is that he is having a completely one-to-one conversation with potential voters, because he's not on the debates. He's not. Right. He is having an incredible opportunity to define himself to everyone around the country, because he has unlimited resources. He is literally crowding out other ads, because by buying up so much, he is raising the cost of ads for everybody and is making it cost prohibitive for other people to compete against him in certain areas. I think his ability to, at the very least, be a roadblock to Bernie, I think, is underestimated. His ability to win, I think it's going to be super hard, but who knows? I mean, TV, right. I just don't know what percentage of the electorate at this point watches TV and makes their decisions that way. Because, look, she's going and she's saying to you, what about this Michael Bloomberg? Isn't he good? And you're saying, no, I don't know what you said.
No,
to
he
him.
sucks.
You said he sucks. And she's going to listen to you more than she's going to listen to the TV ad. And that is what I think the deficiency of TV ads is. However, with that said, we just had a call where, a field director from Iowa who was working for Biden is now working for Bloomberg in Michigan and highly incentivized to work for him because he's paying so much money. I mean, so that's going to be something different.
I heard that. And then the last thing, I swear, this is the last thing. I've got somebody called the other day about, how to talk to family and stuff like that. I've got a sister who's like very apolitical. She hates politics because she thinks it's contentious and people fight. And I tried to talk to her about the Idaho governor's race because she's from Idaho. She lives in Idaho. And there's a really good Democratic candidate last time around, and Medicaid expansion was on the table. And she has experience, with the whole healthcare industry, or so I thought. And she just sort of responded like, I don't know enough to even vote. Like I don't care to get involved because I don't feel like I know enough. And then the other day on Facebook, she posted something political for the very first time, and it was about an intersection near her house, and there was like a petition to get a light put in. And my takeaway from that is we spend a lot of time talking at people about what they, we think, what we care about, what we think they should care about. And we need to also spend a little bit of time listening and learning about the issues that are important to people so that we can customize the message to them and not just be like, oh, Medicaid expansion. Like she probably doesn't know like what the fuck Medicaid is. Or she feels, and then she feels stupid that she doesn't know and she doesn't have enough information. But get involved locally and learn about people before you start preaching to them. That's my message for the Left is Best crowd.
All right. Well, we appreciate that, Ronald Raygun. Let's just play this clip here of Ronald Raygun apparently when he was in a documentary that had to do with what was this, Brendan?
R-rated movies.
R-rated movies.
At BYU, I think.
Yeah, let's see what Ronald Raygun had to say back in the day.
The student.
Every bad action comes from a bad idea, and watching R-rated movies will give you some bad ideas.
Could you explain a little bit why people here don't typically watch R-rated films?
Because they're told not to, and they do whatever they're told.
Well, yeah.
Oh, so people don't watch R-rated movies because they're told not to, and they do whatever they told. Is that really still your opinion?
Yeah.
All right.
At BYU, that's true.
Appreciate the call. There you go. Ronald Raygun.